everyone, I'm Melissa McAllister, and you're listening to The Melissa Made Show. Now, for decades, I've dedicated myself to helping women break the cycle of dieting, navigate through all the fads, and change their lives through my nutrition coaching. Now, each week, I'm going to talk about everything from deep nutrition, mindset, self-care, the ideal workout routine, tips on how and why to implement intermittent fasting in your life, my favorite recipes that are not only crowd pleasers, but they're actually healthy for you, and so much more. Now, with small and consistent changes, you can defy aging while living a happier, healthier, and more heart-filled life. I'm so excited to show you it's possible with the right strategies that are so simple to adopt. Hello, and welcome everybody to the Melissa Made Show. So we have a guest today that I was just telling her, because you guys know I always chat with my guests before we get started. Her life is so interesting to me that I should have just called her on the phone and us have coffee together so I can just ask her all these personal questions first before we get into the professional stuff. And she's like, hey, let's just have a conversation in this podcast. So I'm really excited to dive into her brain, because I am curious about a few things that she has done. And if you watched my stories, probably now it'll be a little while ago, I was telling you how excited I am to speak with her, because she's got quite a few accomplishments under her belt that I think if you're in the fitness industry, you always kind of go, oh, I wonder what it's like behind the scenes with this. I wonder what the experience was like to do this. I wonder how she was able to get the opportunity to do this. So I'm going to ask her these questions because I think you'll have the same questions that I do. But first, let me give her a very great introduction as she deserves, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So Felicia Romero has an impressive resume in the fitness industry with the following accomplishments as just an example. So she was a top 5 pro figure competitor. Now, if you're watching us on YouTube, I'm bowing down to her. I know how much work that takes. It's really impressive. She's a fitness model, gracing 8 magazine covers like Oxygen, Muscle and Fitness, Hers, and Flex. I was just looking at those magazines when I was in the airport the other day. Those women are impressive. She's opened 3 gyms over the course of 12 years. She's a cast member on the reality TV show Fit to Fat to Fit, which is fascinating to me. She's a designated health and wellness spokesman for local TV segments. And she believes that your physical fitness, mental health, spiritual practices, and understanding of your human design, I love that, are key ingredients to the recipe for building a successful business and life. So thank you, Miss Felicia, for being on the podcast. How are you today?
Of course. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that introduction. Sometimes you forget, I feel like I've lived 10 lives, there's all these different paths that I've taken that's led me to the next path, which is just the power of trusting that, each step that you're taking forward is going to lead you to where you need to go. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. So when I looked at this, there's so many questions going through my mind, but I'm going to start with the fit to fat to fit. Can you just briefly describe that experience? And because for me, it's the mindset. I mean, you've obviously, you've been at the pinnacle when it comes to, physical, which is also mental wellness. How were you able to go through that? That's got to be a mind F. I won't say that word, but it's got to be a mind F for you. Oh. How did you do that?
100%. Okay. So to give the audience a little context, so you are referring to, I was on season 2 of Fit to Fat to Fit. It's a reality TV show that aired on Lifetime in 2018, end of 2018. So the premise of the show, and I'm going to explain the premise, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of background of where I was mentally, physically at that time. So to give you guys some background, Fit to Fat to Fit season 2, basically the premise of the show, if anyone knows or has heard of Drew Manning, he is the creator of Fit to Fat to Fit. He initially put it through himself. So he gained weight. He was a fitness trainer for so long, and he just couldn't understand why his clients just could not lose the weight. It's kind of like, hey, just go for a walk, work out, watch your calories, lose the weight. Yeah, on paper, it's like, follow this thing and you'll get to this X result. But let's be honest, it doesn't quite work that way with people. And usually comes down to, you mentioned mindset. And it is so true. It's like he wanted to put himself through what his clients were going through. So, he gained 75 pounds on his own. And then like through the habits of what his clients were doing. So, just kind of eating what he wanted and didn't exercise, pretty much the lifestyle of the average American and the average client that he worked with. So he put on the weight, and then he went through the journey of losing the weight, and he documented it all, and he got a TV show out of it. So I was on season 2, and the premise of season 2 is essentially they got trainers, and the client was actually a family member, friend, someone that we knew closely. It happened to be my sister. When they first approached me with this idea, this concept, I was like, no, like, I don't want to put on weight intentionally. Like, what is this? And, they really wanted me on the show, and they're like, Felicia, it's actually, the premise of the show is, if you have a family member that would be interested in doing it along with you. And at the time, my sister, middle sister, her name's Tony, she was 100 pounds overweight at the time. Again, having a trainer, sister, someone in the fitness industry as a family member, it isn't always that easy to just take the advice of a family member. If anything, you don't take the advice of your family or friend or whatever, right? It's like, so I was always there as a resource, but she always had struggled. And so I was like, gosh, this is my way to really help her and also help optimize her life, right? Because she wanted to do a lot of things in her life that I just didn't see her doing. And I do believe that her mindset and her weight held her back from a lot of that, right? And not just the weight, not just the physical weight. It's more of like everything that manifests with that, the thought that I can't do this until I lose the weight, or I can't get, find the relationship or do these things, and she was just in this rut. And so I'm like, I'm going to do this for her. So essentially what it is I had to basically, it was an 8-month process. Wow. The first 4 months was me actually gaining the weight. And then the last 4 months was me losing the weight. They had a camera team here in Arizona. They rented a house, like, a couple miles from where I lived. And we did filming 4 or 5 times a week. And essentially the first 4 months I had to put on, I believe they wanted me to put on 40 pounds in 4 months. I ended up putting on around 28, 29 pounds. I know this may sound kind of odd, but it was hard to gain that sort of weight in that amount of time, right? Because it was pure gluttony. The initial 10 pounds came on like that, but after that, it was really tough to put on that sort of weight, especially with someone who had optimized her metabolism and lived in, a pretty active life. So 4 months, I had to really consume a lot to put on that weight. And then I was given the green light to then lose the weight at the last 4 months. And then my sister pretty much was on her weight loss journey the whole 8 months. So that's just giving the audience a little backstory in that process. So I put on the weight, we lost it together. She ended up losing about 85 pounds during the process. Yeah. And her life was forever changed. And so I often get the question, Felicia, would you ever do that again? And I don't think I would do that again, but I don't regret the experience because my sister's life was changed from it. And it still has, she still has followed it up, and she still kept off the weight. And now she's active. She's playing softball. She's doing all of these things that she couldn't really do before because of the physical pain and the mindset and the habits that were ingrained in her. So yeah, that's pretty much the premise.
Well, way to go, Tony. And can I ask you, did you just eat a lot more of the foods that you normally eat? Did you have to, go into the fast foods and the ultra processed foods, putting that weight on? How did you go about putting that weight on?
That is a great question. And so essentially the rules, quote unquote rules, I'm using quotation marks, basically is I had to adopt the habits of my sister. And so my sister ate fast food 2 to 3 times a day. She also did not exercise. She had a 9-to-5 job where she sat in a chair pretty much all day. Whereas like me being a gym owner, I owned a gym at the time. I was teaching classes. I was moving quite a bit. I even had to limit my steps. Wow. From I was getting an average of 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day just by living my life. And I had to drop it down to 1,500 steps a day because I wasn't gaining fast enough. And so I had to adopt what my sister was doing. And on average, she got less than 1,500 steps a day. And I had to basically sit as I was teaching and doing the thing. So yeah, it was, and there was a lot of pressure. Reality show, they don't want to watch paint drawn on a wall. So, you know, they kind of spur up some drama. My sister and I had drama. He threw a weight at my foot. Like there was some things that we had to go through that were real. And then there's some things, obviously it's reality TV. It's not always, you know, real reality. Some things are set up and staged, but there was a lot of real emotion, real feeling, because think about it, you're on a weight loss journey and also you're being filmed doing it. You're getting really uncomfortable. Plus your sister is telling you to do these things. So there are some just like butting of heads, but yeah, I had to adopt all her habits for those 4 months and then lose the weight together. So it was quite the journey. The 4 months felt like 4 years, to be honest. And it was really tough I you know, when I first got into it. And so to give the audience a little premise of where my mindset was at. So I had competed for years and I competed for 9 years at the pro level, pro figure level. So I competed in the Olympia 6 years in a row at, you know, at my height, I was placing top 4 in the world at what I was doing.
And I'm going to interrupt you. For those of you that are not familiar with the competitive world, that's the shit. I mean, you were top of your game. So continue.
Thank you. And, you know, for the audience that may not know, you know, I think of like the IFBB, it's sort of like, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger competed. It's kind of like the Super Bowl of what you did as a someone who builds their bodies and wants this very aesthetically pleasing, you know, look. Yeah, you may look very healthy from the outside. Internally, I wasn't quite so healthy towards the end of my career. But yeah, so, you know, I had gone through all of that. I spent a couple years after competing going through some body dysmorphia stuff, some eating stuff that I had to heal. And then when they approached me, the reality TV producers approached me, I had already done my healing, like through my body, like the way I felt about myself, my metabolism. I had optimized it again. I had, you know, I'd done all the things. And so when they approached me, I was in a really good mental space. So it wasn't even the thought of gaining the weight didn't even scare me. It was more of the mindset piece that scared me because I know what it's like. Like I use exercise as an outlet for me to help my anxiety, to help my mindset, my mental, you know, all of it. I don't really use it now as like, I gotta get a 6-pack as I'm like running on the treadmill. That's my thought process towards health and wellness is completely different than it used to be when I used to compete to look a certain way on stage. So, you know, I was like, okay, that part didn't, you know, and I wasn't, you know, like my body, I wasn't defined by my body. So I knew I was doing it for a bigger purpose. I also had the tools, you know, being in fitness yourself. I had the tools to lose the weight. I know how to lose weight. I know how to lose body fat. It's like we have those ingrained tools with us. You know, I've been an athlete, like we have that within us. It wasn't the weight that was scaring me. It was the I didn't have my outlet anymore. Also, the things that food does to you, right? So just to give your audience a little example, we had doctors that we met with every single week, you know, to see how we were doing over the course of the 8 months. And we did blood work at the very beginning of the weight gaining journey. And then right after I gained all the weight, we did blood work again. So just to give the audience a little insight. This is exciting. And this is quite like mind-blowing because most people are living this right now. So my blood levels were all very normal. I had normal testosterone, actually a little above what, you know, women had. My testosterone was very optimized. I had, you know, healed again my hormones over the years of competing. My estrogen was normal. I wasn't estrogenic or anything. Everything was normal. Cortisol, my blood sugar levels, very, very healthy, you know, woman at that age or at that time. 4 months of eating fast food, no exercise. And this is just 4 months. So imagine a person whose years are spent this way. 4 months of eating fast food and not exercising. My estrogen levels just through the roof, right? So all of a sudden went from normal levels, and I don't have the numbers off the top of my head right now, but I have like documents, you know, I have it all documented. Estrogen, you know, just skyrocketed. My testosterone plummeted. So my body stopped really producing its own testosterone. It just went through, and we need, as women, we need testosterone. We need it. Like, and so like, and my blood sugar levels, I was actually getting to dangerous levels of like cortisol, blood sugar, like all the things, blood glucose, like all the things just were elevated. Sodium, like cholesterol, like all the things, it was like complete 180 from my blood work 4 months prior, obviously. But just think about the average person living this life and how they're feeling. And so yeah, did I feel uncomfortable in my body? Yes. I had increased body fat. I had gained about 28, almost 30 pounds. It was all in my belly and my hips. But what also came with that, Melissa, was mood swings, mood changes, depression, anxiety, just this feeling of not motivated to do much, meaning, and this was just 4 months. So imagine someone who doesn't have the tools that I did. Even the first couple of weeks after they said, Felicia, you have the green light, you can start losing weight again. And I was like, cool. But guess what? I didn't just go right back in the gym, Melissa.
Right.
You know what I did? It took me 2 weeks to not stop at McDonald's again.
You're kidding.
No. It took me 2 weeks. I kept telling myself, one more day.
Wow. I'll start tomorrow. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I still have time. Let me just go through one more time. It's like this craving. Food really does become an addiction, right? And it's like I just wanted the salty and the crunchy and the sweet and then what happened, which was really shocking to me, is I lost the weight, but my body wasn't the same. I had an increase in body fat. It was different, right? It's easier to lose weight. I could lose the weight, but the body fat and the body transformation came a little bit, it was a little tougher to come by. Yeah. But what happened was I had this feeling of, I just want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. It sounds so much easier than putting my shoes on and going and doing the 10 burpees in the gym, right? Like the feeling of comfort versus the feeling of being uncomfortable, right? And that is where I think people get stuck. It's like we can have all the resources. We can have the best coaches giving us exactly the tools of what we need to get in shape or to be healthy or to feel good. But it's like there's this fine line of this is going to be tough, right? But that's where our characters is built. Yeah. And I was wanting to live in the comfort. Because I had been there for 4 months, and that's just 4 months after a lifetime of being pretty disciplined, right? And so imagine and this really had me thinking, and this is, I think, what really excelled me in just the empathy and this, like me being able to sympathize with people that go through any sort of weight loss journey or health journey. It's not as easy as just saying, go jump on the treadmill and drop your calories. There's a mindset that needs to be broken. Their beliefs, the beliefs that you have right now that's keeping you where you're at, we need to break it, and we need to show you a new way. And that's really what I learned from that experience.
I'm literally, not many people watch the YouTube version of this. They listen to the podcast, but for those of you listening to the podcast, if you could see me right now and you really can't, I am lean forward. What you said is so profound. I mean, I've had so many experts, and deep down inside, we all really know what we need to do. But to hear somebody that, literally flipped the switch and went from one side to the next, then back to the other side. I mean, that is so profound what you said. And I love that you shared that blood work, because it's so easy to stay comfortable. And if you don't have any proof, except for maybe the scale going up a little bit, that this is harming you, the choice to stay in that lifestyle is for anybody easier than it is to make that very, very difficult switch for, you said it took you, 2 weeks to really even just start to get your diet back on track, and the hormone fluctuations, the mental capacity, the habits that you create, because you can create some tremendous habits in a month, let alone 4 months or years. For people that have done this for years, you're just really helping people understand that, it's hard. It's very, very hard.
Yeah. That's why the industry is where it is. That's why, 85, 90% of people end up gaining the weight back. I think I hit a little high, maybe 75%, but I'm not telling you, the audience, to like scare you or to like limit you and let you know that this isn't possible. It absolutely is. But what I'm saying is make it more than the weight loss. Yeah. Make it more than the fat loss. Make it more than I got to fit into this size, whatever gene. Make it about your life and the life that you want to live, this optimized, thriving life. Because many people are prisoners in their body, prisoners in their mindset. They're stuck, and then we overcomplicate it, or we set unrealistic goals, when actuality, you just need to get up and you need to take a walk today, right? It's like that can be good enough for right now. And what happens is the more that we show up in that action, whether it's just the walk or, hey, I'm gonna watch my portion size with this meal, that one meal will turn into 2 meals, will turn into 3 meals. It's that one walk to the mailbox turns into a half a mile, turns into a mile, turns into, hey, I can run now. What?
Yeah.
So it starts incredibly small, but that compound effect that happens over time builds that confidence. That's where your confidence is built. It's the keeping the promises to yourself and the commitments that you make. Because what happens when you tell yourself, well, I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and even though you know in your head, back in the mind, deep in your subconscious, that's funny, I'm probably not going to wake up. Yeah, but you tell yourself, look, I'm going to wake up at 5, I'm going to get the workout. And what happens when we keep pushing the snooze? We are breaking promises to ourselves, number one, and number two, you're setting unrealistic goals. When actuality, you can get the workout in any time of day the following day. Right? All of a sudden, we don't get that workout in because we told ourselves we were going to get it in at 5 a.m. Doesn't happen. First off, we break the promise, we break the trust, we break the commitment to ourselves. Secondly, we keep setting unrealistic goals that we're not keeping to ourselves, when a 20-minute workout at noon would suffice, right? Sure. So it's like we have to get into and we have to break some of the beliefs that we've been doing, and also the rules that we read out there, like you got to work out on an empty stomach, and you can't do this, and you can't have this, you can't have carbs after 7 p.m. It's like there's all these rules. It's like, what do you want? You know, and what is best for you? Absolutely. Because I promise you, the rules don't really matter, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, and that perfectly led me into one of the first questions I wanted to ask you. I know that you don't believe in, diets or those quick fixes out there, especially being someone in the competitive world. And I have a lot of friends that have been in that and are still in it. And I've seen a lot of different mindsets with it, and some people do it a certain way. Other people do it another way.
Have you ever competed?
No, I have not. And you know what? I'll tell you what, I was driving in the car today, and I was going to tell you that one of the biggest compliments I ever get is when a stranger, somebody will ask me if I do, because that to me, and
I would have guessed that you did. Yeah.
That anybody listening, because I just can't say it enough. You look at those beautiful women on stage, and it's a piece of artwork. And so when somebody even if it's just flattery, will ask me if I've ever competed, I haven't, but it's incredibly flattering to be asked that, because it is. I mean, you guys take that female form and you just perfect it. And I know that there are some positives and some negatives to that, but I'm just curious your thought process now that you're kind of out of that world and may have had some things that made you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe not your healthiest physically and mentally doing that for so long, where your stance is now when it comes to how you eat and what you eat and all that stuff.
Yeah, that is such a great question. And this is coming from someone who, when I started competing, I didn't have any issues with food. Like, I grew up in a Mexican household. I never heard my mom talk about, this is too many carbs. I've never heard her speak about getting on a diet. We didn't have those types of conversations in growing up. If anything, being, having a Mexican mom, she wanted me to eat more, showing her love. Her love is giving us more food. Like, why are you eating seconds and thirds? I'm like, Mom, it's okay. I'm full, I'm good. But that's how she shows love. But going into my first binge eating episode, I remember it so vividly. It was my very first competition that I was competing in. Had no idea what I was doing. I researched I found a diet on bodybuilding.com and a workout program. Didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I remember my first instance in binge eating, I literally ate a whole box of cereal, like the whole box. And I had no idea what had just happened. I literally was
in a trance.
I blacked out almost, right? I just blacked out, and what just happened? Because I didn't experience restriction, right? And so what happens when we restrict ourselves, which most people do whenever we start a new diet, we tell ourselves all the things that we can't have. Right. And the first thing that happens is we want the thing. And the first thing that happens is we binge on the thing. So that was my first instance in binge eating. And that kind of set me up. And I didn't have any sort of, it wasn't until around year 3 or 4. And again, these are all pressures that I put on myself. But, I had turned pro at my very first national show. So wow. That is just unheard of. I didn't even know what a pro was, but it was just, I look at it as I was in the right place at the right time. right? I had dark hair, dark features. I was different than the other girls. This was,
I don't want you to dismiss yourself like that.
oh, thank you. Oh,
No.
sorry. Yeah. But I was just in the right place at the right time. Like I would not have been contacted by Muscle and Fitness Hers if I wasn't in the lobby of Vegas, center, and I just won my pro card. And it was just like all the stars aligned, right? It was part of my journey, part of my path. But I turned pro at my first national show. I didn't know what that was about. And all of a sudden I was like climbing the ranks. So I win my first pro show, my fifth or sixth show ever, right? And I had no idea I didn't even know it was a whirlwind, but all of a sudden this pressure started to build on me, because when you're on top and you're winning pro shows, it's like, now you're the one to beat. So I felt this incredible pressure. And then, when you're doing magazines and photo shoots, like you need to be in shape. Like I've even been told, and I can share a story a little bit later about, I showed up to a shoot and I was not in shape and what was said, but we can go down that road. But it's like, I all of a sudden, what turned into this fun, exciting, thing, this goal to be on stage turned into now this job, and also this subjectiveness of only focusing on your body.
Yeah.
And you're being judged by your body, and you're getting feedback on what is not good on your body. Hey, you need to come in leaner. Hey, you need stronger glutes. Hey, you need a glute and hamstring tie-in. Hey, your body fat's not low enough. Hey, you don't have, you need rounder shoulders. So everything was what I didn't have and what I lacked. And then I got confirmation and validation from the wins, from people commenting on my body. What do you think that does? That serves your ego, right? And what happens when you're not in that shape? You feel so small, and you know what it feels like when people pay attention when you're in this incredible shape. So, with that, being young and being in my 20s, I fell into the trap, right, of the external validation of having to look a certain way. I needed to be 5, 6, 7% body fat at all times, when it's just not realistic, right? It's just not realistic if we're being completely honest. But I was always in the mode of, for 9 years, getting ready for a show or trying to look like I was getting ready for a show, right? So I needed another show in order to get in shape, because what happened after the competitions is I would put on 10, 15, 20 pounds, boom, right away. And when I see myself on stage with like this 6-pack and crazy low body fat, and all of a sudden 2 weeks later, I don't look like that at all. What do you think that does to your brain? I remember always, every Monday, I need to get on fish and vegetables again, so I can get back down to what that was. Yep. And that's just not a healthy way to live, right? And so that was me for 9 years. So when I say, like, after I was competing and, I was done competing, I had a couple years of where I had to see a counselor, and I had to also find what I enjoyed again. Right. Mm-hmm. And I had to find my way in the gym again, because it became this job. And now I love weightlifting. I don't diet. And what's amazing about this is, I don't know if you follow Jill Coleman.
Yeah.
Jill Coleman's a great friend of mine, and we've both been through like these things, but like we talk about this often. Like I can eat the same thing on a Saturday as I would a Monday morning, right? For everyone, it's like, I'm going to start on Monday morning. Like I eat the same thing all the time. Like I don't have restrictions, but also now I can go through a weekend of eating foods. Like this weekend, we, barbecued, but also we had some, pizza and like hot wings and things like that. And like, I don't wake up the next day 10 pounds bloated. My body knows how to work the foods off because my metabolism is back to where it should be. Right. And so that's what just living a healthy life does. I have a little bit of that, a little bit of this. I listen to my body. I don't diet. I focus on what feels good for me. I tend to gravitate towards healthy foods because those are the foods that allow me to feel good. But I also don't hold food on a moral pedestal. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no right, there's no wrong. It's literally just food. I'm an adult. If I want some pizza, I'll have some pizza. Doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, shameful for eating this pizza. It's like, no, we get to make these choices. But that's my life now. And I found the love again for exercise and weightlifting, especially. I just turned 40 this year, and I love lifting weights because I feel so strong, and it feels good to feel strong. So so I would say that's my relationship with food and exercise now.
Well, number one is I would have you know how you try to compliment somebody and say, you try to give them a number because you want to compliment them. Your actual age, I would have said you were 30. So you look,
Oh, thank you.
seriously, wow, you look fantastic. But
Thank
that's obviously taking care of yourself. And I really want the listeners to understand that when you see that person that looks, I want to say even stage ready, I know because I've been there, that thought process of, oh, they've got the perfect life. They must always look in the mirror and see how amazing they are. And they must get complimented constantly, which they do. But you get to the point that you value your worth by how you look. 100%. It's not the person you are. It's not the heart you have. It's not the education that you've gotten. It's how you look. And that can actually, be very, very hard to live with. And I'm sure you can attest to that.
100%. This is where self-love, and we talk about this body positive movement, self-love movement. And I have there's pros and cons to it, right? And I have my issues with that as well. But like we're on this road to self-love, and true self-love is like, you can still love yourself at a size 14. And if you can love yourself, then you can love yourself at a size 4 or 2 or whatever your goal is, right? Whatever your quote unquote goal is. And the thing is, it's like, if you can't show yourself love, then what makes you think you're going to show yourself love at size 4? It's never going to be enough. Mm-hmm. And so I have a perfect example of this. I've been on the Olympia stage, placed top 4, like I'm judged on my body. I remember very specifically still not feeling good enough.
Yes.
Still not feeling good enough. And then 40 pounds heavier than the girl on the stage, still not feeling good enough. And then it hit me. It's like, and this is where I found my voice. Felicia, like, it's not about your body anymore. It's not about the weight. You saw it. You've seen yourself at this weight and you weren't happy. Remember, Felicia, you still pinched the fat. You still looked in the mirror and didn't see yourself as perfect. And then you've been 40 pounds heavier and you still weren't happy. Like, when does it stop?
Right.
When does it stop? And it's more than the weight. It's more than the weight. And you're missing out. And for those listening right now, you're missing out so much on life by worrying about that 10 pounds or 15 pounds or 20 pounds or more. You're missing out on life. You can still have a goal, work towards a goal, still want to lose weight, but still love the body you're in. And so, yeah, I mean, that's a journey that I had to experience.
One thing we all need to be taking care of is our gut. Now, it impacts literally everything: your weight, your mood, your skin, your digestion. And because your gut houses up to 80% of your immune system, a healthy gut is truly the gateway to feeling your best. Unfortunately, our bodies are being attacked every single day and wreaking havoc on our gut health, stress, toxins, and even just one day of eating a Western style diet. Now, thankfully, with Just Thrive Probiotic, it's now easier than ever to give your gut what it needs to thrive. Just Thrive's breakthrough award-winning probiotic is the only product on the market that's proven to turn your gut into an antioxidant factory. Do you hear that? Yes, this probiotic actually produces antioxidants right in the gut, meaning you get maximum immune, digestive, and total body health support. Wow. It's vegan-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, histamine-free, and non-GMO. And the best part, you can open the capsule and sprinkle it onto any food or drink. It's the perfect recipe companion to keep your whole family healthy. Now, Just Thrive has been loudly endorsed by some of the biggest health luminaries on the planet, including me. And you can learn more by listening to the podcast that I did with Tina Anderson just a little while ago. This company is changing the game in the supplement industry. No fake marketing, no claims, just real, scientifically proven results. You know, that's important to me. So if you're looking for the best in gut health and immune support, choose the clinically proven, award-winning power of Just Thrive Probiotic. And guess what? You can save 15% off site-wide when you go to justthrivehealth.com and use the promo code Melissa Made at checkout. Right. And so you 9 years in that competitive world, I'm assuming kind of may have tweaked a little things, whether it was hormones or anything like that, or your relationship with food. Were there any things that you specifically did that, kind of helped you turn it around? I mean, this is obviously before fit to fat to fit. That's really difficult to say. I always wanted to
Fat to fit, tongue twister.
yeah. But if, that you having your master's degree in exercise science and stuff like that, where did you go? Where did you turn? How did you kind of get out of that competitive mode and heal yourself physically and mentally to be where you are today?
Yeah. The answer I give you may be surprising, because usually it's like, well, I did these things. I went to a naturopath which I did all those things. Yes. Number one, the first thing I did after I realized, after competing, and I had put on about 40 pounds in 2 months after competing,
Wow.
after my very, very last show. And I remember specifically, like I remember it like it was yesterday. And I had gained all the weight, and I just kept telling myself, well, let me just get on this competitor diet again, even though I haven't competed. I'm not going to compete anymore. Let me just get on the diet again and lose the weight so that I can then heal myself. Like I thought that I just like losing. I always think, and most women think this, that losing weight is like their answer to everything.
Yes.
It's going to be the thing that brings them the life that they desire.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. It's not the case. It's furthest from the truth. It's all excuses. They're all lies. And so I remember specifically like thinking all of this. And then I just kept, Wednesday would roll around and I'm white knuckling it through the week because I just want to binge on the cookies. And I knew that I didn't want to live this life anymore. I remember being in the grocery store, walking through the aisles and wanting to go on my binge episode of like buying all the carbs and then eating all the carbs and then going into a coma and then doing it all again the next day and getting back on the competitor diet. And I'm like, there has to be my life was consumed with food. And so I knew there had to be another way. So the first thing I did was I sought a counselor, and I went and I saw an eating disorder counselor. I had a disordered eating. I wouldn't necessarily call it an eating disorder, but I had disordered eating. And so counselor. And then the second thing I did, which may surprise people, is I had to change my environment. I had to stop following fitness accounts. I had to, a lot of the people that I hung out with, the kind of conversations that I have now versus I have then are night and day different. Back then it's like, what are you eating? What show are you getting? Oh, we can't go eat here. Like, I'll bring our food. Like, when is your, let's catch up on the treadmill, which, can be a healthy habit, but can also be a very unhealthy habit. So I needed to change my environment. I no longer was around people who competed or who were body obsessed or worried about the food or constantly talking about like why their body wasn't good enough or their macros for the day or how much cardio or their second workout of the day. Like I no longer could be around that environment in order to heal. Right. Yeah. So that was the second thing I did. And then the third thing I did, I knew that I just knew another diet wasn't going to be the answer for me. So I had to not look at food as good or bad, right or wrong. And I just ate. And so I spent a year doing that. And, that's scary for a lot of people. Some call it intuitive eating. And that's scary for a lot of people because the moment they hear intuitive eating, they think, well, I'll just eat donuts all day. Yeah. And I'll tell you why that won't happen. Is because the moment we detach from the restriction, something happens along the journey is you start then gravitating towards foods that make you feel good. And what you notice is, now donuts are not good or bad, right or wrong, but you may notice when you'd have that donut, let's say in the morning, when the person says, well, if you let me eat it, the donut, I'll eat it all day. You won't, because you'll feel like shit. You'll feel horrible. Yes. And so what happens is you start being aware of how my body feels, how is my energy, how is my mindset, and you will gravitate towards foods and a lifestyle that make you feel good. And I call this the awareness stage, right? What is this? And not assigning any sort of definition to it, not assigning definitions to food or your lifestyle. If you happen to have a slip up and you binge, we just say, oh, well, that's interesting. Okay, maybe my body just needed more food today. Like the moment you start living that, you'll notice that I haven't binge ate in years. Like this was back in 2014, 2013, 14. So it's been years. It's been years since I've binge ate. My body weight stabilized. I'm healthy. I'm active. My metabolism is normal. All of my hormone levels are normal. And it's like your body will acclimate and will get back to what it wants to if you allow it. So yeah, those are the three things I did.
it's profound. You saw a counselor, you changed your environment, and then you worked really hard to just heal that relationship with food. And I don't think, I mean, I've had, food, eating disorder experts on, lots of doctors on, and, that's 100% what they preach. And that's wonderful to hear that you did that. I just got back from Bali, a 10-day trip with my girlfriend, who's a functional medicine doctor. And you talking about your environment. I mean, her and I are both very, very health conscious, but at the same time, you're in Bali. So you're going to eat, all of their, the foods that they eat. You're not going to like, oh, maybe I should have, this instead of that. Hell no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's, so she's a healthy environment for me. I've been in places, I've gone on vacations with people that are little, are very, that would have brought their food scale, probably contemplated bringing their food scale on a trip with, because it's very, very important to them. And it tend to, for me, make the environment less enjoyable, because I want to touch on the intuitive eating as well, because I really truly believe in that as well, that you eventually do get to that point. And I always tell my listeners that when I go on vacation, you're not going to see me, exercise is not going to be the number one thing. I'm going to stay active. I just want to see the area, but I'm not going to go to the gym unless I've got time and it sounds really good. I'm not going to force myself to go because it's what I should do. And then same with the eating. I'm not going to count my calories. I'm not going to count my macros. I'm just going to enjoy, but I also enjoy coming home and getting back to my routine, because I really thoroughly enjoy my routine, and I love the foods that I eat. I love when I eat. I love how I exercise. And it sounds like that's, what you created for yourself as well, is being around people that don't give you any kind of pressure either way to
I love
drink.
that. I love that so much. I would love to mention something. I'd love to get your thoughts on this too. We hear, like right now, if you were, and there's this huge movement, and I mentioned a little bit earlier in the podcast, this like body positive movement, which I think is amazing and fantastic. And I think is the like awesome for like just slashing diet culture and all of the things. But I also think there's this like also extreme in the other direction, meaning demonizing people who want a salad. Like, hey, I really feel like a salad at dinner. It doesn't mean that I'm on a diet. It doesn't mean that I don't want carbs. It doesn't mean I'm like, I really just am craving a salad with salmon. Like, so there's that fine line. Like, we have the diet culture that's pushing the agenda down your face, but like, that's not good. But then we have the other extreme of like, oh, like never exercise and you can eat all the chips and you can eat all the Snickers bars. And it's like, no, there's like this fine line. And just because I'm choosing, let's say it did feel good to you and you are on vacation and you're like, yeah, I really want to just walk on the treadmill. It sounds nice. I'm not forcing, like, this really just is what I want to do. It's like, why are you working on vacation? Like people can demonize that too, right? Or why are you at the restaurant, just order what you want. I'm like, this is what I want. Like, this is like, it can be your lifestyle too. And so like, also, if you are on this weight loss journey and you happen to be, getting your exercise in and you're measuring your food, the thing I want, the advice I want to give you is, if you are doing it for the right reasons, amazing, go after it. If you're not miserable and just wishing that you had this other thing, then awesome, do the thing. If you love keto and that is your thing, and you don't feel like you're missing out, and you just love life and you're happy and you're excited, go for it. It's only when you feel miserable and that you feel like this is what you need to do in order to get where you need to go, right? That's when it's a problem, because it won't last. It won't last, right? And so that's the advice I want to give, because it really can go. And I would love your thoughts on this, because I've seen people like, especially on social media, be demonized when they share like a healthy meal. I'm like, oh, this is like, we can eat carbs, or we can do this. And it's like, whoa, okay. Like, this isn't what this post is about. So I think it can go either way. And it's like, sometimes it's too extreme.
Yeah. Well, I think, we are very devout to how we are, and of course that can change throughout your life, positively, negatively. But if you on the one side of the spectrum where there are people that are, literally just, living life, YOLO, they can't grasp the idea of actually enjoying a salad. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, you've got these really healthy people who will look at somebody that eats, I can't even think of, like 3-meat pizza, eats the whole 3-meat pizza. And they can't understand how somebody could do that because they're so devout in their healthy lifestyle that I just spoke about this today because like I told you before we started this, my husband had listened to my podcast and then he saw that I bought him orange juice and rice and he panicked. He goes, I've been listening to your podcast and I can't have the orange juice because it spikes my insulin and I can't have too many grains. And I'm dying laughing because he listened. I've had a lot of ridiculous experts that, that talk about, limiting your processed foods and being careful if you, pre-diabetic, metabolic syndrome on having fruit juice first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. So anyway, he's too extreme, and that's what I said. You get to the point that you hear something and you go extreme. I said this a million times. You talked about keto. We learn fat is good for us. So we go keto. We learn meat is bad for us. So we go vegan. We learn that, we go to the extremes.
It's the extremes. It's the all in or all out. It's like, gosh, you can still perfect example. And as you were speaking in this, and I know you mentioned you went to Bali, the thing that popped in my brain is the scene in, if any of you watched Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts.
Watched it there.
Yeah. Do you remember she was in Italy, in Naples?
The pizza.
They were eating the pizza and her friend was like, oh, no. I can't eat that piece of pizza. I mean, we're going to go try on jeans later. And I just I want good. And Julia Roberts, that character, said something so profound. And it was like, I forgot her friend's name. She said, her friend, she's like, I have no desire to be obese. I want to be able to thrive and live my life, but also I want to enjoy the pizza in Naples, in Italy.
Right.
And guess what we do? We go and we try on clothes and we go one size bigger, right? It's okay. Our life isn't over. Yeah. And so it's I have no desire to be on this extreme spectrum of unhealthy and obese. I want to live, I want to optimize, but also you can enjoy life still. Yes. And so it doesn't have to be this or that. Yeah. It can be and both. Right. And so that's a lesson there. That's a lesson because there's so many people and I lived it. I was the all in or all out. I was the person who brought my food and judged someone for ooh, you're eating that? Oh, you're getting drunk on Friday. Oh, I don't drink alcohol, but still I was that person oh, that's going to keep you from your goals. And it's no, I actually had to go through some stuff in order to know that, what, people can make their choices, but the fine line, the magic is in that middle, right? Yeah. The magic is in that middle piece. So yeah.
It really truly is. And talking about people, judging, and you said something profound to me is if you enjoy it, do it. If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. So my husband and I love to travel. We travel a lot. And I love what I do for a living, as I'm sure you do as well. And so sometimes I will work on vacation and some people are just appalled by that. And I'm but I love what I do. I don't need a vacation. I don't need a vacation from my diet. I don't need a vacation from the job that I do. I love it. And I don't mind spending a little bit of time doing it. And so
I love that so much. Think about how many people right now, Melissa, are hating their jobs and they live for the weekends, right? Yeah. It's we've created a life and it is possible, that you can do this too. If this is what you desire, my core value is freedom. I cannot even fathom working a 9 to 5. I love my freedom so much, whether it's time freedom and financial freedom. I love that I know I can create and I have control over the outcome of my life based on my decisions. Right. And so when you love what you do, the reason why people say that is because they probably don't love their jobs and they can't imagine taking a work call on vacation. When we love what we do. I actually get energized by these conversations. I get energized by coaching calls. I was on a coaching call earlier today, teaching my women's group, the Wealthy Wellness Coach. And I'm lit up after I'm done. I'm energized. I feel like I can conquer the world. It does not feel like work to me. I get to do this. Whoa, that is amazing. And that's where we need to live, right? That's I listen to Joe Rogan. Love him or hate him. I love him. But I listened to Joe Rogan. He was talking about, so many people are just living a life that they don't love, right? And doing things that they don't love. And man, just imagine if we had that, we could put our focus into things that we love and the life that we could create. We would all be a little bit different in how we react to people and how we react to situations in our life. So I love that that's a great reminder. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I think social media plays a big role in that. We spend too much time creeping on, for lack of a better word, people that don't energize us. And, and that puts you in a dark place, and, it makes you angry. And it's like, no, 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 no. Don't pay any attention to that. Pay attention to, and it even could be a positive, fitness account. But if it makes you feel bad about yourself, you're better off finding another account where that person just speaks your language more than this person, and get just as much value from it. But you take clients and you take students and you help them with, and I want to know your definition of this, with their human design. So how do you help people understand their human design to help them, be better in the business world? So how do you link those two characteristics together? Because I am a successful businesswoman, and I without a shadow of a doubt believe it's because I'm healthy. I just launched a podcast. Is today Monday? Yes. I didn't have jet lag, but I don't know what date is. And that's what she talked about, was when she finally decided to take care of her own, to get healthy. She had to hire a personal trainer because she just would not work out or be accountable to eat healthy, because she was trying to do it on her own. So she needed to make that accountability to have a personal trainer 3 times a week to do it, because she was one of those people that she made a commitment, she stuck with it. And when she got herself to lose the weight and eat better and, exercise to have more stamina and energy, her business boomed. And so there's a huge correlation there, but I would just love to hear your take on that, how you help people through.
100%. Yeah. And I'm not a human design expert, but something that I do love to do. And this is what I do when I work with clients, when I hire anyone to my team or anything like that. I give them an Enneagram test. So I have them take an Enneagram test, and I have them, basically give me what their human design is. And basically it's a very simple process. You have to know your birth date, the time you were born, and what city you were born, and that will give you your human design. But essentially, when you know some like really deep core things about yourself, whether it's Enneagram or Myers-Briggs or personality tests or Enneagram, for instance, that's a little bit more on the spiritual side. I do feel like it gives you a really good insight into you and how you handle things and who you are. So for instance, based on your Enneagram or your human design, if you are, let's say, projector, for instance, it's just one of 4, then we know that you may not work really well by being told exactly what to do. Right? You may not like, here's a plan, follow this plan. Like, nope, you may be better in having a general direction of where you need to go and having the accountability, but really finding your flow and what works for you. Like if you tell a projector, like, you need to work out at 6 a.m. for 40 minutes and here is your meal plan, they're probably not going to follow it and not going to show up for themselves. Right. And so like sometimes when we have those, I call them little insights into your soul, little insights into your subconscious, and we know how to maximize it based on our health and our wellness and our business, we get to kind of figure out, okay, well, I've been doing it this way. This is why it hasn't been working, right? Instead of thinking like, we're failures, this doesn't work for me, I can't follow this plan. Well, actuality, like this business model would have been better for you. This strategy would have been better for you, because based on your human design and your Enneagram, this may be a better route for you. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means you don't work well that way. You know how there are people who work best with, deadlines. There's people that work best with visualizations and observing, and like knowing those things are going to allow you to maximize your exercise and wellness, your business and things like that. So I do believe in those little insights. So yeah, check it out. If you want to take an Enneagram test, you can probably find free tests online. And then Enneagram test, I feel like there's a Jovian design chart you can look at online, or you just type in human design tests. You can figure that out, and then just kind of start learning about yourself a little bit more. I think it can be really helpful. Yeah.
And I just as an example, my son, he's 27 now, but he's still a good boy. He graduated. My husband and I say he graduated on the gift program because they liked him because he was such a good kid. They they passed him because they liked him. He shouldn't have graduated. He struggled through school so bad. Then he went to here in Dallas. He went to I forget it. I keep wanting because my husband and I were in Arizona. He went to a Motorcycle Mechanics Institute, MMI. So but anyway, he went to one of the UTI here in Tech and broke records and graduated top of his class, and was just because it was hands-on and it was his way of learning. And for him, he understood that way of doing it. Sitting and listening to a lecture, he's not audible. He would
doesn't retain it. Yeah, like that is so important. It's so important to know how you learn best, how you respond to things best. And it doesn't mean that you should rule your life by this thing, like I'm a Gemini, for instance, my birthday is in June. I'm a Gemini. I look at the Gemini qualities and I'm pretty similar to a lot of the qualities, but there's some things where I'm like, well, no, I'm not like that. Like just because it says that doesn't mean I have to be that. Right. And so like, sometimes we go so hard in that, like, oh, well, I'm this sign, or I'm this human design, or I'm this Enneagram. That means that I can't do any of these things. Well, no, you get to create, these just give you little insights into who you are. So yeah.
Agreed. So you've opened 3 gyms. And last question for you. And then now you run, I believe most of your business is through, social media or online. How's the difference of having that brick and mortar and then having an online business been? And do you have any advice for people that have one or the other in your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So I sold my last gym in 2017. And really it was this like pivot that I was feeling for a couple of years. And I'm a big believer in like, when something isn't serving you no longer, it's okay to give yourself permission to pivot. And so, even coming from like being a perpetual people pleaser and someone who liked to look a certain way on paper, even though behind the scenes, I was not happy. I would always just hold face and everything's perfect, even though it wasn't. And so like, I was feeling this strong desire to not be in the brick and mortar anymore. When you have a brick and mortar, you are married to it 100%, huge overhead costs, delegating employees. And I love that. Like sometimes I look back and think, gosh, I wish I was where I'm at now, because you only know what you know. And I would have been such a better delegator and manager. I just didn't have the skill set at that point. So then I ran myself into the ground. And that's where I was. I was experiencing burnout. I wasn't happy anymore. So yeah, I sold in 2017 to go solely online. One of my core values, as I mentioned before, now I create businesses around my core values. And one of those core values is freedom. And, I knew I wanted freedom to be home, freedom to book a trip on a Wednesday if I wanted to go. Like I wanted to have that. And so that's the life that I created. So yeah, everything is online now. Different ways that you can work with me. I host a mastermind with a business partner. I have, programs for coaches, fitness coaches who want to build an online magnetic business. I have a podcast as well, and I do speaking and things like that. So yeah, like I think, if there's something on your heart and something that you really want to do, fear shouldn't be the driving force. Fear is always going to be there, but fear can come along for the ride. And it's going to be there and it's going to be like whispering in your ear, but the self-trust and the faith should come through stronger. Right. And that's where we get to really create the life that we want to create, and the dreams and the desires that we want to bring to life.
Yeah. That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. Yeah. And and I can't even say like, I don't know my 10-year plan. I love finding magic in the now of like, okay, what is my next step? And I've been feeling strongly lately in wanting to do something in brick and mortar again. I have an idea of what that may look like, something different than what I was doing before. But yeah, that's the thing about life too. It's like, there's no magic in the idle. There's no magic in the waiting. It's like, once you get that, like, oh, that feels really good. And you keep getting the nudge and you're driving and you're thinking about it and you're laying your head down to sleep and you're thinking about it. There's a sign there that's saying like, maybe you should do that thing. Maybe you should book that trip. Maybe you should go to that retreat. Maybe you should hire that coach. Maybe you should write that book. Like if it's it's something telling you something. And it's like, what's holding you back? And so yeah.
So number one, when you talked about that brick and mortar, a huge smile came across your face. Yeah. And then you should write a book.
I am.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
have
Seriously.
not finished yet. I have about 25,000 words. So usually with most books, typically they're like 70 to 80,000 words.
Yeah,
So
good for you.
I'm in the process of it. One of the hardest things I've done, I'm definitely one of those, like, for some reason I'm feeling this resistance towards it. So I've been procrastinating, but I do have it, I would say, like half written.
Oh, I'm so excited. That's so excited because I have loved talking with you. And why don't you
Yeah.
share with my following where all the different places they can find you?
Yes, I hang out a lot on Instagram, so you can send me a DM there, and lots of links there, and different ways that you can work with me or follow me or whatever you want to do. So at Felicia Romero, so just my first name and last name. Super active on TikTok as well. I actually love TikTok, so I'm over there creating I actually create a lot more on there. I don't always take it to Instagram, so that's where I'm just being a little bit more open and fun with my content. And then, yeah, so those are the two places I hang out. Not as much on Facebook, but yeah, Instagram, you can find me.
Okay, it's funny too, because my daughter and I were just talking about that. She's like, TikTok is still fun. She goes, I feel like Instagram is as soon as you see a reel, someone's trying to sell you something, which is pretty true.
Right,
People still put silly and crazy things on TikTok. She goes, so I enjoy being there because at this point it hasn't been tainted to be, everybody's trying to pitch something. And I'm like, yes. I think it's Instagram's fault, but
right, for sure. And it's now being harder. It's harder now to be seen on Instagram. So
impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So I have thoroughly, I mean, seriously, I've been on the edge of my seat the whole time. I've not spoken yet with you on my podcast. Been working on it for probably almost now. But I've not had the lovely experience of talking with someone who's been so vulnerable about the things that they've gone through in the health and fitness industry. And I really appreciate you being open to that and sharing all of that. And
of course, thank you. This has been so fun. And we have to get you over on my podcast as well. I would love to have you on.
I would love that. And so you guys, please go find her and follow her. I got to sneak a peek at her Instagram. She does really give good value. Now I'm going to come. Now don't be jealous. I've got 500 followers on TikTok. I just started it, and I've got a whole whopping 500.
Got this. You got this. Just start showing up, creating fun content. And I think you know what to do. I think once you start showing up, it's crazy I started building last year, and I was really dedicated and committed to it. And your daughter's right. It it's also more fun to even create on that.
Yeah, that's what she said. So yeah, I'll go over there. I'm an educator, by heart. I'm an educator, and I love to educate people. Education is dry, so I'm trying really hard to find a way to educate and keep people entertained at the same time, which isn't and I don't want to point at stuff. I don't think that's entertaining. So.
Yeah, there's a ton of education stuff. I've learned so much stuff on TikTok, and I've also bought stuff based on what people are sharing on TikTok. So it's definitely, it's great for e-commerce, great for education, great for how-tos, and honestly, anyone can go viral. It's great. The types of people that are now showing up on TikTok, just your everyday person who maybe is selling something or maybe not selling something and just on there having fun. It is so neat to see. So
you're selling me. Okay, well, thank you so much. And thank you guys so much for listening in. I know this is going to be one of your favorite podcasts. This is going to be mine as well. As always, I hope you wake up feeling prepared and that you go to bed feeling proud. You guys have a great day. Wow, we've reached the end. But before I leave you, I'd love to hear from you. After all, it's not every day that someone reaches out and asks for your opinion. And to me, your opinion does matter. So please share this episode with anyone that you think needs to hear this message. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Melissa McAllister. And until next time, thank you for being your own health advocate.